and believes that there may be some social isolation or loneliness being experienced by an individual, they can access this online tool and complete a series of questions with the individual. And at the end of the questions, a summary is provided. And we share that summary with the person, and we really empower them to evaluate their own situation. And our staff work with them to really determine what barriers there are and look at different programs and services that the individual can benefit from to address their loneliness. So that's one tool that we have. What we also implemented during the COVID pandemic is a telephone reassurance program. And this is offered through our in-home contact and support funding source. So if an individual is identified or self-identifies as being isolated or lonely, and we want to assist that person, what we would do is have them contact our New York Connects information specialist, and we can then offer this service. So what this service is really a staff member reaches out to an individual. It can be weekly, it can be monthly, it can be every other week, whatever the individual feels or the staff member feels that they would benefit from in terms of contact numbers. And it really starts with just a telephone call. And so that conversation can go in any direction. It can just simply be, how are you doing today? They can open up it's truly an informal conversation that our staff member has with somebody. It can talk to me about things about pets. It can be talking about their family, talking about the weather, which we seem to be doing a lot of in the last couple of days. And it truly is just it kind of gives our staff member reassurance, that how the person's doing, and it really truly supports the person. So this is something that another tool that we added to our toolbox. The last tool that I'd like to share with you is our robotic pet program. Through Ageless Innovations, we have on supply various cats and dogs, and I'll display one here after I finish talking. And what these are companion pets. They're truly designed to bring comfort, companionship, and really literally plays on the power of play that all of us as human beings have a need for. And so our interactive dogs and cats are companion pets, and they help individuals with the ease of care. They are user-friendly, pretty self-reliant, need to say. And data has showed that these companion pets have had a great impact on reducing loneliness amongst older adults. And most certainly, I can't stress enough that these companion pets are truly developed by a company focusing on an individual older adults. And so it's not a toy per se, but most certainly just an item to help conquer, address loneliness and social isolation. So I do have here with me today one of the companion pets. And this is, I'm going to try to put this up to the camera, but this is one of our cats. I have it on mute mode. So there's 3 modes. You can have it off, you can have it on mute, and then you can have it on. So I'm not sure if I have my earbuds in, so I'm hoping that you can hear it purring.
Yeah, we can hear it purring.
Okay. Sorry, just dropped a piece of paper. So we give these pets out, and they have on them sensory spots. So like, if I touch the back of the head, it triggers a spot. There's a sensory spot on the back, under the belly. And each sensory spot triggers a reaction from the pet. So they come with care instructions. They're very simple to care for. they're designed where the fur on the cat really simulates the texture of a live animal, and yeah. So again, it's by Ageless Innovations, Joy for All. Our office has the cats. We have dogs, which are like little golden retrievers. And we're also going to be purchasing walker squawkers. And these are little birds that go on to somebody's walker. And I haven't seen one in real life, but the walker squawkers, apparently if you have more than one in a room, that they can interact with somebody else who also has a walker squawker bird on their walker. So in terms of how do you get one, it's just a self-referral, or it could be a family or a loved one having an individual call our office, or a loved one caregiver calling our office and expressing an interest in the companion pet. So we do have a limited supply of them. And of course, we're going to hopefully get a new order in soon. But when we do have them, when we do run out, I'm not sure, what our funding will allow nowadays with the purchase of more. So I'm wondering if anybody has any questions.
So in the chat, a couple things,
Okay.
someone was saying, oh, is this good for, people with dementia? And
Yes.
and really, as you were previously saying, more than just someone with dementia, but also enacting the sense of play and, playfulness for anyone.
Yeah.
We actually also have some at sale, and and I you let me use one so I could show it. And it's oddly soothing for anyone. Like people were, borrowing it that day just to kind of, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So,
and it's true. And so somebody did mention, for individuals with dementia or cognitive challenges, absolutely. The data has shown that these companion pets really are act as what I think it's rolling over now. So you can kind of see it's rolling on its belly. So these little furry pets have been shown to really help reduce stress, bring calmness. It's rolling back up. Bring calmness to an individual and kind of lessen stress that somebody's feeling. I did see in the chat that somebody had a question about Washington County. So our office does serve individuals for the companion pets. The eligibility is really they have to be 60 or older and a Washington County resident. There are other counties that also participate in this program. And I think, and Dee can speak, but I think Warren Hamilton will be getting some, or they used all theirs or had handed theirs out.
Correct. Warren Hamilton County is currently out of them, but we're hoping to get some more.
Well, thanks,
and
Phyllis.
It looks like somebody's asking about Saratoga County. I'm not sure if they have any. You'd have to contact their office for the aging.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Each office for aging across New York State had to volunteer to be part of the program. So there may be some counties that don't participate in it. We are very fortunate right now that NYSOFA is covering the cost of the pets. And so, like you heard Dee talk about, Warren Hamilton participated, Washington were participating. And so really you have to contact each individual office for aging to find out if they are participating in the companion pet program.
Yeah, and just sale or trade program, we did actually just get some. And the nice thing there, because we did see how effective they are. And so for trade, that can be for any age. So if you have someone perhaps who is younger, but may have difficulty, maybe they have some cognitive challenges, and they may have difficulty understanding, how to be gentle with a pet, or, it wouldn't be feasible or appropriate for them to be working with a small live animal, but they could have that same sense of security and calm and playfulness with one of these comfort pets. And that would be completely, appropriate. So Sale does have some as well, because we saw how effective they are. So thank you to Office for Aging sharing that. And hopefully we all will be getting some more, because they've been pretty amazing. Like I said, I just walked around the building and everybody needed to hold it for a minute. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, thank you very much. We have posted some pictures on our Facebook page. So when an individual receives one, I mean, just the smile on that person's face just warms your heart. And from the companion pets that we've handed out, we have had a couple people return them. It's just not their thing, and that's okay. So most certainly we want that connection, just like a real life animal. We want that connection between the person receiving the pet as well as, I want to say, and the pet too, right? So thank you very much. If anybody has any other questions, you're welcome to reach out to me, myself, or Stephanie Rainey.
wonderful. Thank you so much, Gina. That was an awesome presentation. Thank you. And you know how much I love those RoboPets. So next on our agenda is Maria from Home Instead. And she's just going to give us a little overview of the Companionship program. Good morning, Maria.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm assuming you all can hear me. Thank you so much for asking me to talk. I love to talk about Home Instead, and I was really pleased when we heard from Gina and the rest of the executive committee and asking us to take part in this, because it's so important, and it's become more important, or we're more aware of the need for companionship since COVID. So let me talk a little bit about Home Instead and a little bit of our history with this. Most of you know us, some of you don't. For those of you who don't, we are Home Instead. We are a non-medical home care company, providing in-home services wherever home may be to seniors throughout Saratoga County, Warren County, and Washington County. We've been in this area for a little over 20 years at this point. I've been with Home Instead for over 10 years. Certainly in 20 years, and even in the 10 years I've been here, we have seen a lot of changes with regard to our clients, for sure. So let's talk about that. Certainly we know in this field, more and more people are living longer. And because of that, I think we, particularly those of us who are professionals, but I like to think we as a community and as a society are more aware of issues related to aging, particularly dementia, like Alzheimer's. And we're very fortunate in this region to have a really active, really visible chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. So thank you, Lindsay, for that, and all of you over there. We can't get enough education about that particular disorder. But that's just an example, and because of that, we are more aware. And when it comes to dementia, we are more aware that a diagnosis of one of those kinds of dementias doesn't necessarily mean automatic placement. Not at all, just the opposite. Certainly the notion of aging in place is something that we're more aware of as a society, and certainly as professionals. There are resources to assist us and our loved ones and our elderly society members in aging at home safely, independently, and happily. So consequently, our office has had an increasingly complicated client base. These are clients with many needs. and perhaps maybe have other resources assisting them at home. We work in conjunction with visiting nurses of all kinds, with licensed home care agencies that can provide that personal care that we can't, with occupational therapies, physical therapies, social work, all of these other pieces coming in the home. And we're finding that our clients need a lot more of our time and a lot more of our services to continue to remain safe in home. And in those cases, companionship isn't necessarily what we are called on to do, but it happens by default. We are the ones who are there. Often our caregivers are the ones who are there the most. So they become the companions of our clients, and they get to know them more and more. They get to know them better and better, sometimes better than family members. They're the eyes and ears for family who can't be there. So it happens, but it isn't necessarily what we're called upon to do. That's certainly something that I've noticed in my time at home instead. Since COVID, that's changed a little bit. Now, my job, and this is why I know so many of you, my job pre-COVID was out in the field 90% of the day. Now that's not so easy for me. I'm not necessarily welcome, and I understand that. I don't necessarily want to go to a hospital, to a rehab, even retirement communities. There are all sorts of precautions and even visiting rules in place. That's just the way it has to be. So my job has changed a little, and I'm in the office much more than I'm outside. So I'm the one now who takes the intake calls. We call them inquiry calls. These are the people who are calling us. Often it's family, sometimes it's a client themselves, but they're calling us looking for care. And what I'm seeing since COVID is a growing awareness that companionship is a really, really important piece of what we're called upon to provide. Obviously, COVID has had an impact on all of us, certainly, but particularly our seniors with regard to cognitive issues, with regard to even physical issues, and certainly emotional issues. We've all felt the effects of isolation in all of these ways. Physically, there are all those jokes about it, the COVID 10 or 15 or 20 or whatever it's been. We weren't out and about as much. We weren't able to go to the gym. We just weren't out there. And certainly being isolated, that lack of interaction, that lack of communication, that's going to affect us cognitively, emotionally. So now I'm getting these phone calls for not only pretty complicated and needy clients, but folks who really need companionship. They need us to be there to stimulate their relative, to engage with them, to get them back out in the world safely. It's just become a huge piece of what we do. And even for those folks who need a lot more from us, the piece about companionship is always brought up. The piece about, finding a caregiver who can engage with them in certain activities is always brought up as a needed task for us. And that wasn't always the case before. It kind of would go by the wayside and would just happen naturally. People are noticing that we need to be stimulated. We're people oriented, right? We need that in our lives, and our seniors need it more than ever. We've seen a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety. Certainly we're not doctors or nurses, but it's our role to, monitor that and do what we can to provide bright spots during the day. And there are different ways that we do it. What we do first is what we call a care consultation, where we will go into a person's home, meet with them and with any family who need to be there or want to be there. We know very often the bulk of what we need to get with regard to information is going to come from family, but we want to meet with the client. We want them to be part of the process, even if we're just meeting them to say hello. We want to see who they are and how they are in their setting. But a big piece of that care consult is not just coming up with a schedule and different tasks, but we spend a lot of time getting to know the client as best we can in an hour and a half. We want to find out what's important to this person. What did they do before? What do they do now? What do they enjoy? What were their hobbies? Where did they work? What's important to them? And we go from there. And a lot of us know in working with folks with different dementias, we know how valuable that information is. So often what we see with dementias is that short-term memory may be gone, but so often that long-term memory is still there. And when we get information about that long-term memory and about that past, we can use that info to engage with the person and have meaningful conversations or create meaningful activities, have a meaningful moment with that person, to give them something to feel good about. Whether it's an activity or talking or looking at pictures, whatever that may be. But our goal is not to just sit with them, but really to try to engage them, to stimulate them and give them what they need. Because that's been lacking, for so many in the last couple of years. So that's a big piece of what we do. We've been fortunate. We've got great relationships with the offices for aging in the counties that we serve. I know Gina, we work with Washington County and we provide those respite services, through them, where what we do is companionship for folks. And so much falls under companionship. I really want to make that clear too. Things like meal preparation, sitting down and having a meal with a person. So often folks who live alone, they don't eat because they might forget, or there's just nobody to eat with. So why even bother? And you just kind of get into this pattern of not having a regular meal. And just the simple task of one of our caregivers coming in and bringing their own food or perhaps making something, and ensuring that person at least sits down and has one meal and enjoys some companionship, that can really go a long way, with setting a routine and a schedule and hopefully helping that person stay as healthy as possible. Also, I think, when clients know that we're coming, they're maybe more apt to handle their ADLs a little bit more than perhaps they would if they didn't have someone coming into the home and helping take care of them or just be with them. They're more apt to take a shower or get ready for the day, get dressed, if they know that there is a planned activity. If it's someone with dementia who can't quite keep that straight, it's a lot easier for our caregivers to engage them in the process of wanting to do something, and getting them ready for the day if they know that task is coming and it's enjoyable and it's something that they want to do. So we're able to, provide this kind of care to all kinds of folks in the region. We work with the communities or the Caregiver Support Initiative through SUNY Plattsburgh, which we're really fortunate to work with them and have referrals from them. And also in Saratoga County, that grant is managed by the EDDI through St. Peter's Health Partners. And we work with them as well. And it's just so good to see how the community really recognizes the importance of providing this kind of respite to families and this kind of care to those folks with cognitive issues, because they seem to need it the most. But I want to stress that all of our seniors, benefit from this kind of companionship and this kind of work. We all need stimulation. We are social beings, and we've all suffered through COVID. Certainly life could be worse, but we've all struggled with it. We've all seen it, and we're just digging our way out of it. We've been fortunate to keep working through COVID and to provide this where we can. And we're getting more and more calls because people are more and more comfortable letting us in, now that it's been a couple of years and we've got the vaccine and boosters. But that's how we do it. That's it in a nutshell. If anybody has any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch with me, and or you can put it in the chat. I'll look for it. But thank you so much for letting me talk a little bit about what we provide the community.
Thank you so much, Maria. It's awesome. Does anybody have any questions for Maria or? Okay. If you have any questions, of course, anytime you can put something in the chat. You can also email us. And just a quick reminder that this is going to go, this is being recorded, so it will go into our Long-Term Care Digest. It'll be a YouTube video, so you can access it and watch it. Okay, next on our agenda is the Good Neighbor Program with Josephine Todaro. Good morning, Josephine.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. Cynthia, I am going to try and share my PowerPoint like a big girl. Let's see. Can you see that?
Yep.
I'm getting better at this. Thank you very much. So my name, for those of you that don't know me, is Josephine Todaro, and I am the program director for the Good Neighbor Program through the New York Association on Independent Living. Bless you. The Good Neighbor Program initiated 2 weeks before offices closed due to COVID. And I'll give you a little background about the program so that you can follow the trajectory. Our funding started in February of 2022 through 2020 through a grant from the Mother Cabrini Foundation. And because of COVID, the outreach into the community with individuals transitioning from nursing homes back into the community who lack natural supports, family members, people around them, was pretty much at a standstill. And the purpose of the Good Neighbor Program is to create a relationship between the person transitioning from the nursing home and an individual in the community to serve as that person's good neighbor. So because we got to a slow start, the funding from the Mother Cabrini Foundation continued through 2021 because we didn't spend our entire budget. We were very fortunate. And in January of 2022, the Department of Health picked up the Good Neighbor Program through Money Follows the Person. So once again, Good Neighbor Program, the intent of the program is to support individuals transitioning from a nursing home setting back into the community who have no natural supports, capable family members, individuals in their circle of support. And this program is coupling those individuals transitioning with folks in the community, and those folks in the community are called good neighbors. So, eligibility. Nursing, this was the original criteria: nursing home resident, the lack of natural or informal supports. And at times, sometimes the lack of those supports actually are a barrier to transition. So some of you may know that some of the waiver programs or even some MLTCs requires someone to sign a plan of protective oversight that basically says, in the event that staff isn't available, John Doe will be available in their best effort to be of a support to the person. So sometimes our good neighbors actually sign those plans of protective oversights. Since the ramp up with the Department of Health, we've also updated our criteria to include folks 60 days post-transition. So what we found is that sometimes the individual discharging says, oh yeah, I've got a friend down the street, or I've got a family member, they're going to be there for me, et cetera, et cetera. And reality sets in, and the person hasn't had anyone involved with them, anyone that's come to visit, anyone that's been truly present in a circle of support. So we are entertaining those referrals as well. But once again, that's only 60 days post-transition. What's of particular importance to me when I'm reviewing a referral is what's the status of housing, what type of housing, accessible, etc. Home care. Good neighbors are not home care workers. They do not, nor are they required to do hands-on care. And what is in fact the community or natural support network? So for example, I have a relationship and the participant's son lives in another state. Well, certainly the gentleman himself qualifies for the Good Neighbor program. The son in another state's not going to be available to do a community errand, come over if the aide can't show up and somebody needs a meal prepared, be there, boots on the ground. So circumstances are certainly unique. Our good neighbors ask a lot of very important questions. And this is just a small list of the kinds of questions that they're interested in having answered. And we try to answer a lot of these questions prior to the discharge, so we really know what the barriers and perhaps deficit areas and needs of the individual will be once they return to the community. The good neighbor is also compensated through a stipend. So, for example, we've divided the state into north and south of Westchester County, and the relationship is based upon frequency of contact. So in either part of the state, a tier 1 relationship consists of a minimum of 1 face-to-face contact a month with 3 alternate contacts. The tier 2 relationship, regardless of where you are in the state, once again, is a minimum of 1 face-to-face contact a month and 11 alternate contacts. What I can tell you is that when I'm in the final phase of negotiating the relationship after the parties have agreed to work with each other, is that once a person is discharging, we generally agree to a minimum of 2 to 4 face-to-face contacts a month. People are getting to know each other. People are, leery of having no staff or inadequate staff. So the more frequent the communication and eyes on, certainly at the outset of relationships, I think the more fruitful and better outcome. So we do have a process for the Good Neighbor program. The pre-screen starts with, generally speaking, our referrals come from transition specialists or nursing home social workers. Transition specialists, I'm sure many of you know, they're affiliated with your individual regions, independent living centers, and they are there to assist and support in the transition of individuals from nursing homes, and they often provide the referral to the Good Neighbor program. So the pre-screen basically means that the person making the referral has verified with the individual that they are in fact interested in our program, and that they do meet the basic eligibility criteria. Once I receive the referral, I start communicating with the referral source, and we also start thinking about who might be a good neighbor for this person. And in many instances, it's actually somebody from the nursing home that's developed a relationship with the individual. I've got people from the Office of the Aging, social workers at nursing homes, Meals on Wheels folks through local offices of the aging. So it's a very interesting methodology that we've developed in order to identify potential good neighbors. As we're talking about that, we set up a generally Zoom or teleconference with the referred individual, the proposed good neighbor, myself, and the referral source. We talk about a document called the Basic Service Agreement. I explain how the person is remunerated and what the final steps are, which basically require background check, completion of 1099 paperwork, signing off on service agreements, with the understanding that once the person discharges, I also maintain a minimum of a monthly contact with all parties. And we have a team teleconference each month. How are things going? Oh, your staffing hasn't been in place yet. Well, how has the good neighbor been helping you? Oh, they bring out my trash every week. They've been picking up my groceries for me. Oh yeah, she helped me set up a medical appointment. Those kinds of things. Also reporting if some staff member is smoking and there's oxygen in the home. So our good neighbors are truly eyes and ears and boots on the ground, as I said. The relationship is built on what we refer to as the basic service agreement. It's a one-page document. It's not a lengthy service plan as some of you may know from the various waiver programs. But the service agreement basically identifies the areas where we can see the relationship being of benefit to the individual and whether or not the proposed good neighbor is in agreement with those tasks or responsibilities. For example, are you okay with helping John Doe review his mail twice a month? Are you okay with if staffing hasn't shown up and you've been there 2 times this week and there's staffing scheduled, assisting or supporting the individual in calling the care manager or the agency itself? Those kinds of things. Most important, the services agreements are individual. They're unique to each relationship. But these are the major components. Okay, we're almost done. Program management. So these are some of the things that I do. I get the referrals, I execute the background checks, provide welcome packets to those involved, maintain monthly communication with all, maintain communication with the referral source, and provide all the necessary paperwork to assure stipends are administered properly, and on and on and on, the management stuff. This is one of our testimonials. This is a gentleman and his good neighbor, and my question to this gentleman is, how's it going with your good neighbor? And this is his response. And what he's so very happy about is that his good neighbor, who during his weekly visit supports him in facilitating a weekly phone call with his son, who lives, quite a distance away, who was also elderly. So pictures worth 1,000 words. And this is my last testimonial. This paint by number was done by a gentleman who discharged from the Northeast Center for Special Care, was interested in artwork a little bit prior to his injury, discharged, and his good neighbor took him to a local art supply store, and he saw this paint by number picture. And since that day, he has not stopped painting. So it is very, I find it very inspirational. So here's my contact information. If you're interested in any outreach to any of your people individually, or if you have any referrals of folks that are known to the Open Doors program, or who are transitioning from nursing homes into the community with no natural supports or significant others. We've actually just opened our first husband and wife case where they both discharged from the nursing home at the same time. That is about it for my slide presentation, but I would certainly love to answer any questions anybody might have.
I'm free all day Tuesday except for therapy.
Stephanie said, thanks, great presentation, absolutely. And it's a well-needed program. Again, that's agreed as well. Josephine's,
Our funding has been approved for 4 years. So, you know, people have asked, well, when does it stop? So right now, 4 years is a very nice, neat number.
Yep.
And, you know, it's easy to give that information. Anything else from anyone?
And I will see you then.
Thank you really very much for your time. And Phyllis or Cynthia, if you'd be so kind to make sure that the brochure goes out to your mailing list, because that does have all my contact and program information. Thank you for allowing me to join you guys this morning. I appreciate it.
no,
Excuse me, I just have a quick question. Hi, it's Mary Kennery. I'm the long-term care ombudsman for
Hi, Mary.
the region. How are you, Josephine? So I just wanted to know, we have a 10-county region. I was wondering what your region consists of.
Statewide.
Statewide? Okay, so I can contact you about any local county in the capital region and around, you know, the surrounding areas?
Absolutely, and I would love to do a presentation to your group, your ombudsperson
that would be
group.
fabulous. We'd love to have you. Great. Okay.
Yeah, I
Josephine.
think it's critically important because you guys are truly aware of what's going on in the nursing homes and probably do a lot of hand-holding through the process of folks wanting to discharge back into the community.
Yes, that's a really substantial part of what we do. So I absolutely will be in touch today.
All right, Mary, I look forward to hearing from you, and the same thing for anyone else. I'm always available, and once again, the word to get out there is would really be helpful. Have a good one, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all again for your time.
Thank you, Josephine. That was great. Thank you so much. And again,
Thanks,
as I said,
Cynthia.
Josephine's information is going to be in our minutes and going to be sent out along with the flyer brochure. So
yeah, I'm going to put my email, my phone number. This is my personal cell, 8129. All right,
Perfect.
guys. Thank you all very much. Have a good one.
Thank you, Josephine. You too. Take care. Thank you. Next up, we have Aging in Place, Harvey Noordsy. Good morning, Harvey.
Hi.
From Florida.
Okay, am I unmuted?
You are. You're good to go, sir.
Okay. So I'm Harvey Noordsy. I am a board member, founding member of Aging in Place, past president. Bob Rockwell is also here today as the current president. I would like to show a brief PowerPoint, and then both of us will be available for questions. So can I share the screen?
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's see here. Okay, that's the moment here from beginning. Oh, just a moment from the beginning. Okay. So our name is Aging in Place, Glens Falls. This is a copy, front copy of our brochure summarizing our mission of helping persons age in their own homes with dignity. A brief history. We go back to about 2008. A group of about 30 people from a local church got together to determine a way that we could continue to live safely in our own homes as long as possible. And about half of them continued to meet monthly as a steering committee to explore a direction to move. Now, at that point, there were few models. We had seen an article in the ARP magazine about a group in Boston and went online to learn more. That's the Beacon Hill Village. And about a dozen other villages, mostly in larger urban areas, had been formed using their model. There are now several hundred villages across the country, and they are affiliated with a national supporting organization, the Village to Village Network, or V2V.org. This is how V2V defines a village. Neighbors caring for neighbors. Villages are community-based, nonprofit, grassroots organizations formed through a cadre of caring neighbors who want to change the paradigm of aging. Local villages connect members with a wide array of practical support services and social connections that enable older adults to enjoy a rich, independent, and healthy quality of life when they choose to age in their homes and communities. Villages build a sense of community and offer resources, services, programs, and activities, including social and education programs, health and wellness activities, and volunteer assistance with transportation, light home maintenance, and technology coaching. The village movement originated in Boston with Beacon Hill, leading the way for a more economically efficient model for aging. Now, when we began in 2008, our small group, we were not needing help for ourselves at the time. We were more thinking about the future when we would, and that plus the economic characteristics of our group, and that we were thinking of being an all volunteer organization, led us to decide to charge ourselves a very low fee of $1 per month. At that time, the average fees in these large urban villages was around $500 annually. Now, they, of course, had professional staff, executive directors, fundraisers, etc. All of that seemed prohibitive to us in our small city and area. We found a group in the Twin Cities that was using a time banks model. And since the V2V network didn't yet exist, and we really needed a way to proceed, we used a manual from a national time banks organization as our early guide. The basic notion of time banks was that if you gave an hour of service, you could claim an hour in return. But we learned this model has problems in a senior group, as one is able to give much more in early years and not need help, and need help later on while not able to provide much for services. So we don't keep track of hours. We just ask that every member volunteer services within their capacity. We soon decided not to be affiliated with just one congregation, but to reach out to all persons in the community. We did at that time apply to a local foundation that had funds for helping seniors and was exploring a new focus for their mission. They moved in a different direction and we remained unaffiliated. But in 2009, we received a one-time grant of $4,000 to provide resources for printing brochures and other publicity and to become incorporated as a non-for-profit corporation. And we began offering a series of educational programs for seniors in our local library. We developed a larger presence in the community and gradually added members. We received our incorporation in 2010 and moved from a steering committee to an elected board of directors. and slowly increased our numbers to about 50 in 2012 and 80 by 2014. Now, currently, there are a number of new villages forming in the Capital District, spurred by support of the Albany Guardian Society, which has also helped form them into a network consortium for mutual exchange. And the New York State Office for Aging is granting that initial startup money for these new villages, as it recognizes the need to support the growing number of seniors who choose to age in their own homes. In our early years, using the time banks model, our new members offered whatever services they thought they could provide, and the list got too long, so we narrowed it down, and we now provide a set list that members can choose from for their volunteer services. We can only offer services that members have offered to provide. So, and since we have a limited number of male members at this time, we can't provide a lot in terms of light home repair, for example, though that's listed as one of our services. Here is the current list that we ask members to choose from. There's a whole group of what under the umbrella of helping members, advocate, to be an advocate, companionship, help with errands, phone calls, organization help, reading, shopping, light housekeeping, letter writing, respite care relief, meal preparation, and sewing help. Under transportation, we have actually 3 categories: local rides, after dark driving, and willingness to drive longer term to Albany, Saratoga, or even Burlington. There's no charge for the transportation, but we do ask members to make a contribution for gas for the longer travel. Then there's light home repair. That's maybe changing a very high light bulb for someone who can't get on a ladder anymore, or maybe being able to help with a small leak in a faucet that doesn't really need the help of a licensed plumber. Bicycle help and repair, that one's not used much. Clerical help, pet care, which sometimes gets used a lot. Then health, wellness, and home safety, which includes telephone assurance, a whole series of computer and technology assistance, and outdoor activities such as gardening and yard work. And people also signed up to lead sporting activities. Again, that is not really used very often. We also keep a list of vendors that various members have used and recommended, and members are encouraged to help us keep that list up to date by adding names or reviewing services that they used. We have a rather complicated community. Glens Falls is the smallest metropolitan area listed in the US, and it's within 3 counties, numerous towns and villages, and 1 small city with a total population of 127,000 or more. That's a little out of date. There are 5 senior centers serving various communities, some of them supported by their local government jurisdictions. Some people move to our area to retire as they have vacationed here in the past. Others relocate to be nearer medical and other support services, which makes our area one which has a higher number of seniors over 65 than the state average. In our membership, we have 5 neighborhood groups at this time, members participate in one or more senior centers. We know we could serve more people, and we want to grow again. We currently are down to 50 members, having lost some members by death and moving from the area to be with extended family elsewhere. We have an annual dues of $25 per member, and we encourage those who receive numerous services but can't give many back to voluntarily contribute more. We have the ongoing challenge to recruit a new generation of leadership and members. We remain an all volunteer program. We have a website, it's at aipgf.org. On the public side, you can read newsletters and copy our brochure and member application. The member database is restricted to our members. And challenges from the pandemic, as we've been hearing from others this morning. Villages like ours have been challenged to maintain membership in programs due to the inability to meet in person or provide services in homes. And for a time, even providing transportation. We knew so little about this virus, this disease. And in the beginning, people were told to scrub out their cars, even after having someone ride in it. So volunteer transportation practically disappeared, as well as services in the home. So programs during the pandemic have been limited to Zoom meetings, like a book chat, a virtual tea party, and of course, some of our oldest members do not use Zoom, so we're not able to participate in that. We also have regular outdoor walks, which have been able to continue. We have recently also begun to help members with serious health issues, whether short or long term, to develop a care circle to meet multiple needs during their crisis, which helps solve two issues. People are often reluctant to ask for help, and they also helps better utilize members who have volunteered but haven't been asked. This is briefly our mission statement, and then we'll be ending. Aging in Place, Glens Falls seeks to assist seniors to live in their own homes as they age, as long as they can do so safely and with dignity. And we aim to accomplish that in the following ways. We provide non-medical services, which you have seen the list of. All members are asked to volunteer within their capacity, even if it's making phone calls. Helping members maintain connections with others, which is why groups are called a village, to assist in forming a care circle, to help members find other community resources when their needs exceed the capability of our volunteers. And I'm going to end there with a thank you and for listening, and we'll stop sharing and be open to questions. I'm in Florida, by the way, where it's and Bob is in Glens Falls. So, but I think he's here somewhere. I don't see him right now, but
yes, I'm here, Harvey.
Okay. So Bob is our current president. So you can, if there are any questions, either of us can respond to them.
So
Somebody
I
on
did
the
see you.
asked
Yep.
about what's eligibility. I saw in the chat. I think anybody who's interested in joining, I don't think we have any restrictions.
We do not. We decided not to set an age limit because, or even a minimum age, because one of our first members was actually not yet defined as a senior, but was living with an aged mother, and the two of them, both joined primarily to help the aging mother.
The other question is, Harvey, they can be anywhere in the area. They don't have to live in the Glensfire zip code. There isn't any geographic restriction either.
We have, most of our members live in Queensbury and Glens Falls, but we have members in Lake George Village and Hudson Falls as well. At one point, we had a few members as far as Lake Luzerne, but that group is not functioning now.
So I just want to make sure, this is Cynthia. Hi, guys, that I'm understanding. There is the possibility, say, for instance, as you had used an example, you have a family member who, is aging in place, and that you might need assistance from someone else. You have some time to volunteer. You could join as well, offer some services for volunteer to kind of begin to create a support for your loved one. Does that sound about right?
Yes. We do have one membership team right now, again, of a mother and daughter, an aging mother and a daughter who is still working in the community. Yeah.
Great. And it looks like Gina said, good to know, fantastic program. Absolutely agree with that. Harvey or Bob, if you could send us your brochure, and I will make sure that is part of the minutes and goes into the Long-Term Care Council newsletter. And then also, how often do you do a new newsletter? Do you do them often?
Every month. Harvey does it.
Wonderful. Could you send me that, Harvey, and I will make sure that is within the Long-Term Care Digest. Yes. So, because then that gets sent out to a minimum of 280 people. And then those send it on to others. So,
well, I sometimes have done that, and occasionally I miss. So I don't think you got the last couple newsletters. But.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Harvey. Phyllis says, great presentation. Totally agree. Any other questions? Okay. All right. So as I said, all the information from today is going to go into the newsletter, so you'll be able to see information, etc. I'm just going to stop recording.